All right, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back in person. Welcome back, people watching all over the United States and throughout the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today, that's right, it would help if I did that. So today we're going to go over the first chapter in the Computing Essentials 2023 book, and that is Information Technology, the Internet, and you. And once again, reminder, recorded streams are all found on the @NickRouse PCCIT channel. People all over the world, people of all ages use technology these days. 20-something years ago, I really couldn't really talk about that much. Like, it was limited to certain groups of people. Even 30 years ago, it was limited to certain groups of people. Not everybody had access to it. Now, what, you all need phones or something to even log into computers, right? Like two-factor authentication, it's crazy. So now, I say it's crazy because, yes, there were times where I grew up in an era where I had to handwrite stuff. Imagine doing that. Okay, so anyway, people all over the world use it, all different ages, all different industries. Education is everywhere now. Or excuse me, technology is everywhere now. Education should be everywhere now, but technology is everywhere now. So there are 6 parts of an information system. The 6th one, when I first started teaching this class, was not there. It was 5 until, yes, this textbook originally had 5. Now we have 6. So I'm going to go over all of these except for procedures. I'll tell you why in a minute. So people, that's us. I hope you know that's us. Without us, there is no information system. It did not pop up out of thin air. Yes, information systems came from us. Procedures. We all need procedures, but what do you use that's in this classroom that also needs procedures? Yes, computers, yes. You can just yell it out, it's good. Okay, procedures. So computers need them as well. Software. In this class, especially chapter 12, that's the systems analysis chapter, you're going to find out that we should always determine what software we need before what hardware we're going to install it on. So you'll notice here that we have software and hardware. And I'll talk about a little bit more, we'll go a little bit more in depth into this in this chapter. So just hang on for that. Data. I'll talk about the difference between data and information. Yes, I believe that's an extra credit question. There is a difference between data and information. And last but not least, and this is the one that got added somewhat recently to this textbook, and that is the internet. And of course, even back then, when there were only 5, the internet was obviously around in the early 2000s, mid-2000s. So even late 2000s, it was still there. So I don't know why that wasn't a component, but we have to have access to the internet to access all of our resources. Talking about us. I get bored talking about us because, well, we're humans, right? But we are the most important part of the system. Again, without us, there is no system. There are 2 different ways that you and I interact with these information systems. I want you to think about this. So let's say you're accessing your student information system, you, and you're adding classes, removing classes, you're making changes directly to the system yourself. However, when we go and give somebody authorization to make changes for us in that system, we are working with the information system indirectly. We're asking somebody else to make the changes. So keep in mind, when you're directly interacting with the system, that's when you're making the changes, you're typing things in for data entry, you're interacting with that system. But when you're having someone do it on your behalf, you're indirectly working with that system. And there are many times where I'm just like, yeah, you can go ahead and make the changes for me. However, when I have somebody else make the changes, what do I run the risk of? They can do what? They can make a, Klein, you know this. They can make a mistake. They can make an error because they're human. All right, in this class, I'm going to talk about 2 different types of software. And yes, we're going to have full lectures on these. There's application software, or apps, that's what you and I use. And there's system software that our computer uses, whether it's our phone, whether it's our tablet, whether it's our, yes, even our smartwatches. There is system software on all of it. Chapter 3 talks about application software. Now, chapter 1 here is an overview for the whole rest of the class. So when you see the different chapters that I have up here, that's what we're going to be talking about at that point in time. This chapter is primarily just an overview for the other 12 chapters. So there are 3 types of applications. There's applications that a lot of people use, and those are called general purpose applications. Those are applications that you don't really need any training to use them. Now granted, you might need some training to use them, but like on your phone, do you really need any training to use your mail or your messaging application on your phone? No, those are general purpose applications. What about your phone application on your phone? To dial something, do you really need any training to use that? No, that's a general purpose application. Now, when we're talking about specialized applications, on the other hand, specialized applications are industry-specific applications. Good Lord, the medical field has a lot of different specialized applications. Think about whatever industry you're in or going for, there's most likely specialized applications involved that you will have to learn how to use. Some people learn how to use them on the job, some people learn how to use them on their own time. But there are many, many, many specialized applications out there. I will talk about a select few of them when we get to this chapter, chapter 3. And last but not least, I hope you know what a mobile application is. Otherwise, I think we're in a lot of trouble. And we refer to this software, apps, as end user software because, well, who uses it? We do. And we are the end users, so that's why they call it that. But again, I'm going to go over a lot of this in chapter 3. Chapter 4, we are going to go over system software, or software that the computer uses. This enables application software to interact with the computer hardware, so we need that. A lot of the time, we don't think about system software unless we either need to A, update the operating system, which we think about it then, or if we have like some massive amount of applications we have to update and the system's telling us to do that, or if you get the blue screen of death, and if you don't know what the blue screen of death is, Google it. Then you're going to care about your operating system very, very much. Keep in mind that system software manages background resources like how much memory is every application using? How much of the central processing unit is being used by all of these applications that you have open? How many different applications do you have running in the background that start up every single time you start your computer? Those types of things. Backups. That's system software. So keep in mind there are 3 different types of programs. So system software is a collection of programs. Operating systems, utilities, and device drivers. And yes, we're going to talk about all this, well, I guess all this right now. But then we're going to talk about it again in chapter 4. Oh, if you're just joining us late, I would probably recommend you get your extra credit open in Canvas. So the operating system coordinates computer resources. It gives us an interface. So I'm telling you, everybody, we cannot use these things unless we have an interface. This is a fancy coaster if I don't have something installed on it. And believe me, I use them as coasters. All my other old ones. They become coasters over time. They're very nice fancy coasters because the cup fits right on top because they're big screens now, right? So you can put like 1 or 2 cups on it. Not bad. Okay, and another important thing that an operating system does is it allows us to run applications. Again, without the operating system, what good is the device? Utilities. When I'm talking about utilities, we're talking about like antivirus programs. We're talking about backup of programs. We're talking about, yes, these different types of utilities. Or the task manager, for example, which I will go in depth in the task manager when we get to chapter 4. Device drivers. A lot of people don't think about device drivers because when you plug something into your computer, you expect it to work. Now, I've had issues with device drivers many times, where I get something that's like really old and I'm plugging it into a new computer, and then it's like, how come it's not recognizing this? So I have to go download the device driver from the manufacturer's website of the thing that I'm trying to plug into the computer. So yes, device drivers are still an issue for some people from time to time. Please keep in mind that operating systems literally have tens of thousands of device drivers to recognize all those different devices that you're plugging into your computer so that it works. It works right away. All right, there are 4 different types. So I went from software, now I'm going into hardware. So people, I told you I was going to skip procedures, software, hardware. We're almost done. We're almost finished. See, we're on the other side already of the information system. So once you've determined what software you need, you got to determine what hardware you're going to install it on. So we're talking about supercomputers. I know Watson's been out there quite a bit. That's like your prime example of a supercomputer. They're huge. They're massive. They're massive. They're still huge. Not as big as they were like 20, 30 years ago, but they are still huge. They still require to be in air-conditioned rooms, but they are massive supercomputers. Like we're talking about data from NASA. We're talking about data from Google. We're talking about data from all kinds of tremendous organizations. Next up is mainframe computers, and that's the one to the right of Watson up here. Still needs to be in an air-conditioned room. If you have not been in a cold room, first time I ever went into one, nobody was telling me at the start of the day I was going into one, and I was dressed like this. And they keep that place cold, and I mean cold. Everybody's in sweaters, jackets. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, nobody told me I was coming in here today. I'm like, I got 5 minutes before I freak out and run out of here. So they keep it, why do they have to keep it cold? Because computers get what? Yeah, just yell it out. Okay, hot. Most of my questions are like 1-word answers, or like, how fast is it? Fast. Okay, very good. No, I'm not going to go into like specifics on a lot of this. This is a general information class. So anyway, mainframe computers, we're talking about large insurance companies that have millions of policyholders, but they want to keep their stuff like on site. They don't want to like access a supercomputer, which may be off site. Now keep in mind, companies also have access to mainframe computers off site, so they don't have to have them in their building or have a cold room for that. Okay. Mid-range computers, definitely not as fast as mainframes, definitely not as fast as supercomputers. However, here's an example of one. Sometimes you will see these, they look like they're all on racks. And they're put into racks. But these mid-range computers have quite a lot of speed too. I've seen people have these, yes, multiple people that I've met have these in their homes, like they'll open their closet, they got a whole mid-range. I'm like, dang, when did you put that in? Like, how easy was it to put in? And I started asking all my questions. So if you need a lot of data storage and a lot of processing speed for power, for whatever you're doing at home, mid-range computers work pretty well for that. But the one that you and I use the most is which one of these 4? Personal computers. I know you're all shy. Don't worry, you're not going to lose points if you're incorrect. Okay, so we have 5 different types of personal computers that are out there now. We have desktops. Now you will all notice that in front of you, you have the all-in-one. Okay, some of you have your laptops. For those of you that don't have laptops, you're all probably looking at the all-in-one unit that you have in front of you. That is still a desktop. The desktop in this tremendous station up here can fit into the palm of your hand. If you saw how small that computer was that's in this thing, it literally fits into the palm of your hand. You're like, really? For this big contraption? Yes. Sort of against these for a while because how much space they take up, but yeah, okay. The others run about 30,000 bucks, right? Yeah, computer probably runs about a couple $100. Okay, so anyway, desktops. So the size of desktops over time have gone from the massive towers. Of course, I have a gaming tower at home, so I like my massive gaming towers with the red, green, and blue lights on it and stuff. Yeah, I like those. But for some people, they just want a desktop that fits in the palm of their hand, and they have everything they need right there. So we have desktops. We have laptops, which several of you have. We also call those notebooks. Oh, why do you like laptops instead of desktops?
Because they're easier to carry.
Bam. And can you, well, okay, now I get to make an argument. Well, first, let's not make an argument. Can you install the same types of applications on a laptop that you can a desktop?
For the most part.
For the most part, correct. Yeah, I like that. I love that answer. That's like the perfect answer. Yes, for the most part. How easy can I upgrade a laptop?
No.
Storage and that's it.
I miss the old laptops where you could actually take the screws off the bottom and then upgrade your memory and change out the hard drive. So I get a new laptop and I'm like, where do I open? They're like, you have to take the keyboard off. I'm like, I broke a computer doing that, trying to do that once. I'm like, here's a computer I don't use that much. Let me see if I can get in there. I try to like pry open the key and goes flying, and I'm like, that can't be good. And it couldn't be repaired. But good thing I tested it out on something I don't use, huh? Okay. As well, you should too. You should be testing things out. Like, I don't care if I break it, I just gotta try it. So I can understand how this thing works. Okay, so, moving on. Why do you like tablets? I know you like tablets.
Because of the screen.
You can just yell it out.
The size of the screen.
Don't be shy.
The new ones have the M chip, so they're just as fast as a laptop.
Okay, what's the biggest drawback? Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, just say it.
Mostly how they're like a lot of laptops now are touchscreen, but for the most part, laptops offer the same stuff as a phone with added memory
Okay,
and such.
okay, I like that too. Okay, those are all great answers. Those are all great answers. But what's the biggest drawback of a tablet? I already talked about these two things. So can I install really robust programs on my tablet? How do I upgrade it? There's only one thing you can upgrade on a tablet. You can't upgrade something, and that's your storage capacity. You can take your little your micro SD cards, we'll talk about that in chapter 7, and put it in, and that's how that's how I upgraded my tablet. My wife goes, what are you doing to your tablet? I'm like, I'm adding more storage space. She goes, that's all you had to do? I'm like, that's all you had to do. Can you do that on mine? I'm like, okay. I bought 2 chips, so here you go. That's how I knew it was going to be asked the question. So, yes. Smartphones. If I have to explain what a smartphone is, I think we're all in a lot of trouble. Wearable devices. I've been paying for a watch for the last 2 years. How often do I wear it?
Every day.
I don't. I don't. Because I have a clock. It's right here.
Yes, sir.
It's right there. So, anyhow, I also forgot that I actually do have a clock right here. So if I remember how I was complaining about the clock, I actually have it right here, so I don't gotta worry. All right. So anyhow, those are the 5, and I'm sure that there's going to be like a trick question in the extra credit. I will accept one of 2 answers for this. All right. Welcome to chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. You're like, but Nick, you skipped 2. Don't worry, we'll get to 2 toward the end of this lecture. But here's 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the 4 different types of personal computer hardware, and this is for personal computers only, are system units, input and output devices, secondary storage, and communication devices. Yes, I'm going to briefly talk about each one. In the system unit, that's the computer. The 2 main parts are the microprocessor, that's the brain of the computer, and memory. And we need memory, and keep in mind that memory is volatile. It always changes. When you turn on the computer or the device, memory starts being used up. When you turn it completely off, the memory gets completely wiped out. This is not secondary storage space, this is memory. So when you're opening applications up, the memory starts getting used and getting used and getting used and getting used. And somebody will go, are you talking about RAM? Yes, I'm talking about RAM, random access memory. So keep in mind that as you're opening applications, your computer gets slower and slower and slower because you're using more and more and more memory. As you start closing the applications, the memory becomes free to use, and thus speeds up your computer. But those are the 2 types. I know a lot of you know what input and output devices are. Yes, we're going to have a full chapter on it. Keyboard, mice are examples of input devices. Outputs, printers, like all the printers we have down the hall, All those the printers we have right there, 3D printers. Regular printers, I'm going to talk about regular printers, don't worry. Laser, inkjet, I'm going to talk about all that stuff. And also displays. Keep in mind, this is a display. So are these, so are those, so are on all your laptops. You have displays. But those are output devices. And you're going to find in chapter 6, because I'm not going to remind you of this again until we get there, there are way more input devices than there are output devices, because we have to tell these inanimate objects what to do. We have to have a lot of different ways to do that. And keep in mind, when I'm talking about system units also, I'm not just sticking to computers when we get there. I'm talking about like video game systems as well. Yes, actual video game systems, because we have to have input and output with them too. Otherwise, they don't work. Okay, they may work, but for us to interface with them, we need those. All right, the fastest chapter that we're going to have this semester is in 6 weeks. And that is, I think it's 6 weeks, and that's chapter 7, secondary storage. So when we turn off the power, it still saves all the work that we've done. If we've saved our work and it's still on the computer, we turn it off, turn it back on, everything is still there. So the traditional hard disk, your book calls it just the hard disk. I call it the traditional hard disk because it's been around since the dawn of time. I'm kidding, it's been around since the 70s, 80s. And it's always had spinning platters. And the biggest problem with these, you know the answer to this question already. The biggest problem with these is that they can crash quickly. The second one I have up here is the one that we're changing all of these traditional hard disks to, and that's to solid state storage, which I will talk in depth about in chapter 7. Yes, they have no moving parts. Yeah, we're talking about flash drives too, that's solid state storage as well. But we're moving from traditional hard disks in our system units to solid state storage. I still don't believe any data that's out there saying that this lasts 50 years, because this has not been around for 50 years yet. So you can't believe any of that stuff that you hear yet until we get there. Then you can believe it all. My kids once asked me when they were younger, what is this? Like I had a music seat, and like my son goes, hey, Dad, what is this? I'm like, it's a CD. He's like, what is a CD? Because he plays all his stuff digitally on the computer. So it's like, I'm like, you don't know what a CD, like, do you know what a cassette is? He's like, what's a cassette? Then I showed him vinyl, then he had to go get a record player. Now he's got all this vinyl. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, whatever. Moving on. So, we'll talk more about that in chapter 7. Chapter 8. Well, chapter 8 has to do with our communication devices, like modems, for example. Modems allow us to communicate with not only the devices in our house, but to also communicate with other people online. Yes, your phones actually use them, you just don't see them. We'll talk more about communications, a lot more about various types of communications, yes, including Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Fire. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff in chapter 8 regarding that. But keep in mind, modems modify audio, they modify video, and other types of data into a form that can be transmitted across the internet. So we're going to send something, it has to be able to be transmitted and then received on the other end. Yes, I'm going to talk about the entire communications channel. Yes, you're going to love that chapter. You're going to love that chapter. Moving on. So the fifth component, as I skipped procedures, so this is now the fifth component of the information system, is data. Now keep in mind, I think this is one of your extra credit questions as well. Data and information are two completely different things. Raw data are raw, unprocessed facts. Maybe it's a bunch of binary code. Maybe it's something you just don't care about. That's data. Now, when you process that data and you understand it, it becomes information. I used to give the analogy of, I get data all day long. I probably don't care about 99% of it, and it remains data. The 1% that I care about, that becomes information that I can use in my life. That's why I'm hoping here I give you more information and not a lot of data. Now, of course, can we analyze data to figure things out? Yes. Then that becomes information, especially when we can convey it to people. I made a lot of money in my career over this, making data information. People would just stare at the data and go, I don't know what this means. I'm like, how about if I showed you this? It turns it all into charts and graphs, and they're like, wow, okay, I understand that. All right, enough of that. But keep in mind that digital data is stored digitally, electronically, in literally thousands of different file types. They're all out there. The 4 main file types you're going to use in this course are the 4 here on the right. Document, worksheet, database, and presentation. Yes, in that order on Thursdays. So document files, they're created by word processors. I'm going to spare you the question here. I'm sure some of you will be like, well, I wrote English papers with it. Okay, yes, I do too. I write papers with word processors. Recipe cards, people are recipe cards. You actually print those out? Yes. My wife prints out a lot of them. They're like all over the kitchen. Although she doesn't cook. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry if you're listening. But she doesn't always cook the things that she puts out there. Usually I end up going, do we have all these ingredients? All of a sudden she's like, are you seriously cooking one of the things? And I'm like, yeah, you put it up there, didn't you? Saves me time to guess. I don't have to guess what's for dinner, right? Now I know. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you ever live with somebody that likes to do that, just surprise them and just go, do we have that? We do. And just follow the directions. Great. Okay, note cards. When I first taught this class, I had to print out a lot of note cards. Now, after I've taught it so many times, I have it all locked up in the chamber. So I don't really need that anymore. You can also create calendars and print out calendars, brochures, all kinds of stuff with that. We'll get to that in another chapter though. Worksheet files, or some of you like to call them spreadsheets. Yes, we use these to analyze data and also to display data in a nice format for people to understand. Databases, I'm going to talk about this in chapter 11, even though it doesn't say chapter 11 up there. We have a full chapter on databases. And yes, it is highly structured and highly organized data, where the data is stored in tables. There are some databases that literally have thousands and thousands of tables with fields inside of every single table. And yes, you can work for a place for 30 years and still not understand all of the tables that are in that database. I tried to. But I'll talk more about my career when we get there. Okay, I work a lot with databases. Of course, that's how I work with information systems too. My 2 people that haven't shown up yet, they get to be dropped today. That's right, you haven't been to class, you didn't sign into Canvas, you're out. All right, so that's today. I hope you know what presentation graphics or presentation files are. If you don't know what those are, I think we're in a little bit of trouble there too. Because you're kind of looking at one right now. You're not, yes. I've seen some very, very, very horrible presentations over time. Several of them I've walked out on in the middle of the presentation. I'm just like, I start packing up my stuff and people are like whispering, where are you going? I'm like, can't put up with this anymore. And I'm like, somebody just give me the notes. Now I don't whisper that, I usually just say it out loud and then I pack up and leave. I just can't take this anymore. So anyway, hopefully you have instructors that give you decent presentations. And you, if you have to do a presentation, do not deliver white slides with black text. That bores me to tears. When someone doesn't know how to apply a background or a theme or something, use a template. You can download the templates. Some of the stuff I use, they're downloaded templates. I'm like, how hard is it? You just click the button. You type the word that you're looking for, and then you get the nice PowerPoint template, and you can use it. All right. Now, chapter 2. Now I'm going back to what we were talking about. And this is the 6th part of the information system, and that is the internet. So, We're talking about connectivity. Connectivity is the sharing of information. That's what it is. I know that's one of your extra credit answers. We've been using mobile and wireless communication now for decades. It has improved quite a bit. And for those of you that are like, well, technology doesn't really seem like it's gone too far in the last couple decades, my older students, I beg your pardon. 20 years ago, believe me, I've had every phone known to existence. Phone technology, wireless technology has improved tremendously over the last 2 decades. I don't care what anybody tells me, I don't care what any article is out there, I've lived it. You're gonna probably live it too. My younger students in 20 years, God only knows what we're gonna be doing. I won't be around here, so it's okay. I'm sure that I'll come back to college and learn some of that stuff. And you're gonna hear me talk a lot about cloud computing. I'm gonna jump over computer networks and go straight to cloud computing for a minute. So cloud computing, this is another answer in one of your extra credits, I believe, uses the internet and the web to shift everything that we save on our computers, essentially. We're now saving it to what is called the cloud. And the cloud is just a fancy term for a bunch of servers somewhere. Somewhere. Could be anywhere. Could be overseas. Could be in another state. It's somewhere out there. There's a server farm that stores all of this data that we save. Now, everything that you do in SimNet, if you noticed on Tuesday, again, thank you to my assistant on Thursday. Appreciate that. Don't worry, you'll get that attempt back if you need it. But anyhow, anything you save to that system, it's saved to the cloud. Any email you send, guess where it's saved to? The cloud. Everything that we do out there. All you people that file your taxes online, that includes myself, it's all out in the cloud. I no longer have to have it saved on my computer. I can log into a website, my Google people that save all your stuff on Drive. That's the cloud. I think I've hammered it home, right? Okay, yeah. Thanks. I knew I didn't get the dirty look, so. Yes?
And when a document is saved in the cloud, if it gets deleted, is it permanently deleted?
There's only one person that can delete that by law, and that's you. So it should not be deleted.
Okay, but if I delete it, does it still stay there?
Right, it's not backed up, right. Right, if you delete it, it's not backed up. That's why I'm gonna talk about backups a lot in this class.
Because some people say, oh, even if you delete it, once you upload something, it stays there permanently?
Well, maybe somebody on the system admin side can get it for you through a backup, but that would be the only way. So yes, it is permanently out there, but you just don't see it. But they can see it, which means you'd have to call their technical support and all that to try and figure that out. That's why I promote backups. I have 8 backups of these slides. So if I lose them at all, I can recover it pretty quickly. Oh, the last thing on the slide, computer networks. So the book defines this as 2 or more computers. However, I like to make arguments from time to time. What if I only have 1 computer on my network, but it's like got a printer on my network too? Printer's not a computer, printer's an input-output device. And I have 1 computer. So I've changed this slide to say devices. Bless you. Because yes, when I was single, I had this many computers. I had this many phones. I had this many computers, and I had a printer. And that was my network. It was on my network. So 2 or more devices. And keep in mind, if you and your friend are on the same computer network and you're going back and forth on your phones with the same wireless network, again, it's one device, it's 2 devices. Now, the question I usually ask the class is, how do you define the internet? Because we're going to talk about this in chapter 2. I just want you to think about that for like literally a second, because I'm going to talk about it now. So keep in mind, the internet came first, and I'm going to talk about that next Tuesday. The internet was around in the 1960s. Yes, it's been around for a very long time. The web came about in the 1990s. So yeah, there's a big difference between the 2 there. So here's how I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this visually. The internet is physical, like it's a physical infrastructure, like it's servers, it's cables, it's satellites, it's anything that you can envision that is physical, that's the internet. The web is what you all view on your devices through a web browser. So the web browser, you are accessing what is on the actual internet, what is saved out there. But that's the difference between the two. Internet is physical, web is virtual, if you want to think about it that way. But the web allows us to see what is saved on all these servers. But again, we got a full chapter on that next week. Your book talks about the 3 driving forces of technology. Cloud computing has been around now for quite a while. It's still a driving force because a lot of us save, especially those of us that have tablets and accounts with Google or Amazon, all that stuff is saved to the cloud, all of it. Some of us really are my iCloud people, like you're saving stuff out there. It's there. Wireless technology has been around for a really long time as well. I've noticed that wireless technology has improved, especially over the last couple of decades. It has improved tremendously. I like my wireless technology now. And by the way, when I first taught in this class, we didn't have this. I didn't have my clicker. I had to go out and buy a clicker because I didn't like to be behind the podium. Because the podium was in the middle of the room and nobody had computers. They were all at regular desks. Yeah, freaky, right? Yeah, it took me some yelling to get some changes done for some of these classes. But anyway, at home, we deal with the Internet of Things quite a bit, especially with your smart TVs now. Now there's refrigerators that, oh my God, I am not ever buying one of those, ever, ever. We had that argument in the house. I said, all it takes is somebody to figure out what our password is, and boom, they'll be ordering stuff for us for, yeah, I'm not ever getting one of those smart refrigerators. Some of you might think, oh, it's safe. Yeah, it's safe. That is until I figure out how to get into your network. Then it's not safe. But anyway, we're seeing the internet basically being interwoven into so many devices today. Drones as well. Drones is the Internet of Things. Oh, big time. Big time, right? That can be controlled through a network as well. But you think about anything that can be controlled through a network. Think about vehicles now, right? Vehicles definitely have the Internet of Things at this point. So you're seeing more and more and more reliance. I know that washers and dryers have it now. That's some scary stuff. That's another thing I will not buy. Yes. Same with a dishwasher. I want to push the buttons or turn the knobs. I do not want my phone to go beep boop boop and then something to happen. Right? Or I push the wrong button. Like we haven't done that before. Okay. As you get older, you're gonna be like, yeah, I've pushed the wrong button a couple of times. Yes, it does happen. But keep in mind that I'm not even talking about AI yet. Like, that's not even in here. But I know you want me to mention it, so I'm going to mention it. With artificial intelligence, I'm just going to tell you a couple things. No, I'm never going to do a Waymo either. That's another thing that really freaks me out, are driverless vehicles. No, I want somebody who's actually going to make the mistake themselves instead of the computer making it. Yes, that freaks me out very, very much. And when I'm near one on the road, I get the heck out of there as fast as I can. If I'm changing a lane that I don't need to change into just to get away from it, I will do that. I hate to say I don't have any trust in that. But again, that goes back to artificial intelligence, right? But artificial intelligence can be used for good things. Keep in mind, I'm going to admit this. I'm going to flat out admit this. I will tell you that I developed one of our upper division classes from scratch with no textbook. Guess how I had to do it? ChatGPT. It wrote all my rubrics for me. It wrote all my objectives for me. It created all the assignments for me. It created the readings for me. I just made sure that I legitimized it by citing all the stuff where I got everything, so that people go, wow, these are real resources. Yes, you can go out there and see that I use real resources for the class. But AI can be used when you're especially when you're in a time crunch, or if you just have no idea what to do, which was what I did. I had no idea how I was gonna write the class. They gave me some competencies that I had to do, and I'm like, where am I gonna find an assignment for this. So I just started asking ChatGPT like question, and it started building stuff for me, and I'm like, that's awesome. How come we're not doing that in every class? So you're all like, you'd eliminate the textbook for this class if you could, wouldn't you? I said, yes, believe me, I would, but I'm not in control over that. Otherwise, this class would have this cost after you pay tuition, which it should be. Because we can find all this stuff. All right, I know, I'm gonna get reprimanded at some point if I keep doing this on video. Anyhow, we'll talk more about AI later. Don't pay attention to these page numbers, disregard the page numbers. I am gonna talk about several different careers in this class as we go through the various chapters. Yes, I'll talk about median salaries, I'll talk about what's involved with them, but we'll do that as the course goes on. I said this was gonna be a quick one today. We're actually toward the end here. I have another person I got to ban. How many people have I banned from our chat on, I know I really should ban, I'm gonna ban this user while I'm talking about this slide. So anyway, when we take a look to the future, the internet and the web are gonna be changing, not in the sense of maybe how we use it, but it's gonna get faster, the speeds are gonna get faster. As time goes on, it's just gonna continue to get faster as we go through time. More powerful software and hardware, we're gonna continue to see increases in that as time goes on. This is like the worst name ever to try and ban. Oh yes, chapter 9, I didn't talk about chapter 9, security, privacy, and ethics. So we got a whole chapter in this class on what those three things mean and how they affect you in your daily life. So yes, we will talk about that in depth. And organizations are going to have to continue to change their policies and work on their policies as technology changes. So especially like you get these instructors that say, well, you can't use artificial intelligence as a student to answer your questions or to do your work. Now, who else is a student other than yourselves in this classroom? Who else is a student? You don't think I've used it? Hey, as long as I'm citing everything and I'm making it all legitimized, yeah, I don't have to tell people I used it. It's not my instructor's business if I used it or not. I just need to make it look good in the essays, right? I can admit that. So hey, if it helps you write stuff, fantastic. But you don't have to tell anybody you used it. I just say you're working smarter. But that's me. Anyway, we are going to continue to go through changing times. I know I mentioned AI. Don't let AI freak you out. I don't let it freak me out. That's why I have like general rules as to what I'm not going to do. Everything else is fine. So yes, so I may freak out about a couple things, but for the most part, I can embrace it too. There are a lot of instructors that dislike artificial intelligence, but you as students can be smart enough to use it smartly so that you don't have to keep searching. I'll search through web pages all day. It drives me nuts. And when I can't truly find something, then I have to turn to things like ChatGPT. There are better ones out there, my friends say, but hey, I have access to the Pro edition, so I get all my stuff done and just use it to make my job easier. Not to eliminate it, but to make it easier. All right, people online. I want to thank you all. Oh, cool, okay. Oh, that's right, I'm not done yet. Reminders. So I hope you all logged in on Thursday to SimNet. I've not looked to see who's gone ahead and done work. I will before your next class. But you should have the Word Chapter 1 Sim book, that's the one we started on Thursday, should be done by this Thursday. Well, Nick, what if I don't get it done? That's fine, then just be late with it, but get it done at some point. So keep in mind, the Sim books are your responsibility outside of class, and we are going to work together on Word Project 1-2 this Thursday. And if you've already completed it, you're going to be bored out of your mind. All right, so people online, it's time for me to hit the road. Have a great rest of your day, people online. We will see you very soon.